Alright, YouTube, Shadow King Nazu, and I'm here with my review of episode 2 of She-Hulk. So, last episode, they butchered the She-Hulk origin, made She-Hulk a narcissistic, borderline, if not official, misandrist, uh, a massive hypocrite, and just all around unlikable person. They ruined the Hulk's character even more than they already did post Thor Ragnarok. And we had the lamest fight sequence this side of Batwoman or any other CW's Arrowverse show. And let's get into episode 2. So, episode 2 starts off with uh, Jennifer Walters and her friend of, I'm assuming, of a Latin background, going to the bar where they're chanting the name She-Hulk. I mean, she hasn't even entered the bar yet, and they're already chanting her name. And Jen doesn't like the fact that she's being called the She-Hulk, but her friend basically just tells her to roll with it, and they enter, and Jen decides to turn to the She-Hulk and just absorb all the validation, like a typical narcissist. And she also mentions that she hates that she's being called She-Hulk because everyone's just going to see her as a derivative of the Hulk. Basically just a tokenized character. Yes, Jen, I hate to break it to you. Well, actually, no, I don't. I do. You are a derivative character. It was the same case for the comics. But see, the difference between you in the MCU and your comic book counterpart is that your comic book counterpart was aware that she was derivative, and she was completely fine with it. And the fact that she was able to be likable and develop her own character in contrast to her cousin, the Hulk, who was also a great character, she was able to stand out, and thus the audience became completely fine with her being a derivative character, unlike most tokenized characters, which are just, oh, this is this character, but a different gender, or this character but a different sexuality, or this character if it was a different religion, or blah blah blah. And there's nothing else of substance to them, and thus they became a pretty terrible character. Uh, but yeah, it's pretty much just her there. She also meets the uh, caricature lawyer rival who's acting like a misogynist again. Is pretty much trying to pick up on girls and even referring to girls as it. Spectacular. I should have expected nothing less from a group of writers and uh, showrunners. I mean showmakers that was mostly, if not all, comprised of women, and they were specifically hiring for that purpose. Yeah, they were basically looking for an all women's group to work on this project. I hate to break it to you, but that's discrimination. You should be hiring people based on their competence and realizing if they're the best person for the job. You should be hiring people who were talented writers, people who knew the She-Hulk character from the comics and knew the source material and could help you adapt a good story. And instead, you just hired all these women because you wanted the female perspective on things and wanted to cover some of the most mundane, uninteresting aspects of life. But anyway, a little bit afterward, She-Hulk gets gets fired because the supervillain Titania had interrupted the trial. Yeah, her name is Titania, apparently. I always thought it was Titania. Um, like the wife of Oberon, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Gargoyles. Yeah, I thought that was the source of the name, but it's probably based off titanium. But whatever. Yeah, because she interrupted the trial and saved the lives, they felt that the jury would be biased in favor of the She-Hulk and would vote for whatever side she was defending, or was helping accuse another person. You get out of trial. But let's think about that, shall we? I mean, the people have just been introduced to the She-Hulk, and there's no guarantee that another supervillain is going to interrupt this trial. And whether and and whether or not She-Hulk is there and the jury might be biased, okay, that might be a little bit more debatable. But there's still a chance that the jury just won't care and will just carry out justice as is. But as it, but no, she gets fired, and she has a hard time getting a job. And we also go to see her family, where she has a bit of a reunion with, including her mother. Odd, because I, I know I keep bringing this up, but I do it. In the comics, She-Hulk's mother was already dead, and her father was retired from law enforcement, and she was getting ready to start a case against a mob that helped kill her mother, and that's part of the reason why she got gunned down, um, which led to the event of her becoming the She-Hulk when Bruce transferred his blood to her willingly, and she was performing street justice to stop these criminals and enforce laws to She-Hulk. See, unlike this, unlike the MCU She-Hulk, comic She-Hulk actually wanted to be a superhero and wanted to be a force for good. Because they even have a flashback covering these events, and by that time she's already joined the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, and she did not hold a grudge against her cousin for turning her into a Hulk. She was grateful for it. It was Bruce who had reservations against her being Hulk because he felt that he put her in the same nightmare that he was going through because he couldn't control the Hulk at the time. Uh, but yeah, I mean, despite the claims of Jessica Gao saying that she's a big fan of the John Byrne run, although what she's slightly referencing more of the Chris Claremont run. Yes, it's the same Chris Claremont that helped write the late '80s, the mid '90s of the X-Men, and was also the inspiration for the uh, X-Men '90s animated series. Great stuff. Um, yeah. Anyway, despite Jessica Gao saying she was a fan of that, she clearly isn't because she's not uh, paying the paying the proper respect in the source material, and and is getting a lot of things wrong about the events and the characters, or even just flat out disregarding it. So it feels like that her saying that she was a fan of the John Byrne and Chris Claremont run of She-Hulk was just fake lip service. And yeah, they was pretty much just having a dinner. Nobody apparently talked about her being the She-Hulk. All they could talk about was her being fired and hoping that she can get another job. And also, I believe her other cousin or brother or whatever. I wasn't. This scene was this scene in this episode was so mundane and really boring that I was starting to having a hard time paying attention. Yeah, they were more impressed about him becoming a manager at Best Buy. Yay! You got a promotion at one of the most mundane jobs ever. No disrespect to, I'm sorry, I shouldn't disrespect Best Buy like that. But, but you figure the more exciting thing to talk about would be the fact that either would be that her cousin, I mean that your daughter is the She-Hulk. Though the father does go into the garage and they talk a little bit about it and saying that, oh yeah, it's not that bad. Hey, at least you didn't destroy a city. I'm assuming you're referring to the events of what happened in Avengers Age of Ultron. And, oh, the Hulk was not in his right mindset. He was brainwashed by the Scarlet Witch. Did Tony Stark not, did Tony Stark or any of the other Avengers not tell everyone that the Hulk was not in his right mindset? Wow, that's kind of a jerk move there, if that's the case. Then again, um, apparently being with the Avengers doesn't add benefits, like getting enough money to buy a new boat, as of as of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, despite how ridiculous that would be. Ugh. But eventually, She-Hulk comes across another attorney firm who wants to hire her, and they want her to be a part of a division that covers the superhero aspects, defending both superheroes and supervillains. And the condition is that she does it as the She-Hulk. And then we get into this whole fourth wall breaking montage. Well, not montage. This whole fourth wall breaking sequence where she complains that she's basically a diversity hire. I imagine this was supposed to be a voice puppet for the for the writers when they realized that they're basically a diversity hire for Marvel, and he's complaining that, oh, they're not hiring me for my skill, they're just hiring me I because I'm a Hulk, and oh, these guys didn't have to go through that. Yeah, because these guys had to earn their place. They had to get into their position through hard work and merit, like you should have. Like you should have actually shown that you were capable writers who knew the source material and would be able to make a good show, but you didn't. And it's also pretty hypocritical that you're complaining about being diversity hire when you're getting all these benefits and even seeing that you can argue with your boss, Kevin Feige, and he'll just be submissive to your ideas. And you can basically say you're bullying him. Wow, it really just shows that Kevin Feige has pretty much became a spineless, pretty much became a spineless slug. And but back on Q, Shield continues to complain about being diversity hire, but her best friend of, I'm assuming, Latin ethnicity, mentions that, oh, we got a whole bunch of benefits. Uh, uh, a sky high view, uh, a mini fridge. We could hire uh, our own ball team, and so on and so forth. And it turns out her next job is her first job is to defend Emil Blonsky, aka the Abomination. Naturally, She-Hulk says she has reservations against that because, well, the Abomination tried to kill her cousin, but uh, her boss says that she has to take the job or she's fired. So she meets up with the Abomination, and oh yeah. before I get to that, during the fourth wall sequence, she wasn't talking about being diversified. She wasn't paying attention while her boss was giving the tour and explaining all the what's going to be done and all the benefits. And when he asked for her opinion, she said, "Oh, I'm agnostic." And he's just like, "That had nothing." He was looking at her like that had nothing to do with anything. And going on the tangent here, how can anyone possibly be agnostic in the MCU? I mean, you have Thor. Thor is an actual god, and granted, they haven't introduced Hercules to the main part of the MCU because he was only featured in Thor Ragnarok and was on some other planet or something. Um, but that pretty much proves that gods do exist. And assuming they bring the one above all, that would mean that the Judeo-Christian God also exists. So the very concept of agnosticism and atheism should be thrown right out the window. I don't know why Marvel keeps such concepts in both the MCU and in the comics when they pretty much destroyed that worldview. Then again, DC Comics has the Joker being a nihilist, despite the fact that gods have been long since proven to exist. So, but then again, he's insane. But whatever. So anyway, the She-Hulk meets up with the Abomination. And he says he's reformed. He's reformed. Uh, he wasn't in this right mindset when when he was acting as the Abomination back in the Incredible Hulk movie. His mind was messed up by the super soldier serum, and he thought that he was fighting against a monster. He thought he was going to be the next Captain America and be a hero, but things didn't turn out that way. And her cousin is the hero, and he's the villain. And now all he wants to do is just live his Buddhist life. Yeah, apparently the Abomination has become a Buddhist. Um, He wants to live his Buddhist life on some large plot of land that his seven soulmates have acquired for him, and she's hoping. And he also says that he's already reconciled with the Hulk. And she says that okay, I might consider your case because if the government had been experimenting on you and you weren't in your right mindset, you might actually have a case. And she starts talking to her cousin, and he says, "Yeah, go ahead and represent Blonsky, because I already made peace with him. I think he might be a changed man." And Hulk is on on the alien ship, and it turns out that the ship was Sicarian and possibly heading back to Sakaar. And this got a lot of people thinking on Twitter, "Oh man, they're taking Hulk back to Sakaar. They're going to adapt the Planet Hulk and World War Hulk storyline for the MCU." Really? Really? You think they're gonna do a good adaptation of Planet Hulk after they already hijacked it in Thor Ragnarok and already ruined it? After they uh, skipped Hulk's development of his multiple personalities by skipping Grey Hulk and just jumping to Professor Hulk without having all the components that make Professor Hulk's personality, like Grey Hulk's attitude and cunning, and the extra strength that makes him surpass Savage Hulk, even though he has a slower rage boost. Um, then, and the fact that Tony Stark was a huge factor in that group, and because he was sent there by the Illuminati, and Tony Stark is dead, and the fact that World War Hulk and Planet Hulk were pretty dark stories. You want this to be the launching pad for that? No, no. They're going to ruin it. It's going to be the biggest blunder since Batman v Superman tried to adapt the death and return of Superman. Oh, and think about it. World War Hulk pretty much had Hulk turning most of, if not all, the Marvel heroes and villains he ever encountered into jobbers. Complete jobbers. He basically defeated most, if not all of them, in one or a few hits. He was just that powerful. Some of them were like god tier level. This is the same Hulk that, when confronted by her cousin, even though she was trying to come with a peaceful resolution, the Hulk one-shotted her and pretty much bodied heroes like Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, the X-Men, Miss Marvel. I'm referring to Carol Danvers back when she was called Miss Marvel, not Captain Marvel, so okay, Captain SJW. Just all kinds of heroes. You really think that they're going to adapt that? You really think they're going to do that justice? You really think that they're going to allow the Hulk to beat Captain Marvel? Oh man, I don't know. I don't know what fantasy world you live in, but it sounds like a hoot. Uh, but yeah, so she says that she's gonna. So she tells her boss, "Yeah, I'll take the case. I'll defend the abomination." And he says, "Good, but you might want to turn on the TV." And it turns out that the abomination has escaped prison, most likely to go do his underground matches with Wong, like in Shang-Chi. Yeah, you remember that Shang-Chi movie? That movie that was overhyped by the media and was just barely made a profit? Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much the end of the episode. This was okay. The first episode was infuriating, sexist, hypocritical, bit disrespectful to the source material, and borderline insufferable. This this was just boring. Nothing of consequence happened. Nothing of consequence happened. And some of you are going to argue about the whole Hulk being taken back to Sakaar. We have no guarantee that that's going to lead to Planet Hulk and World War Hulk. And even if they did, they're gonna mess it up. That's a guarantee. They're gonna ruin one of Hulk's greatest storylines ever. But everything else is just pretty much mundane, trivial, insignificant stuff. But in a, but in a from a different point of view, maybe it's for the best. They can't do comedy because the jokes aren't that funny. They can't do action as we saw with the Titania fight. In fact, that wire work was so poorly done that uh, Jamila Jamil, the woman who played Titania, had apparently hurt her own butthole performing that stunt. Yeah, I'm not joking. Look it up. But all in all, this episode was bad, but just for different reasons. It's I mean, I'm not sure if I want the stuff of the previous episode. Oh, because I absolutely hate these kind of things. But at least when I hate something, at least that I'm somewhat emotionally invested in something. This, I got nothing. This was boring. But that's all my thoughts about uh, She-Hulk episode 2. This show does this show has 6 episodes left, and I don't think it's gonna get much better, if at all. And if anything, I'm expecting this show to get worse. But uh, But as you're such a downer, I need something positive to talk about. Ah, perfect. Next video, I'm going to be talking about the finale of Kingdom Hearts Dark Road. I'll catch you mortals later.